welcome to XCom Math. Basically, in this mini format, I wanna discussion the usefulness of two different perks to each other, and today we talk about two of our favorite perks for gunners. Well, at least one of them. The one is Center of Mass, and the other one is Grazing Fire. What I want to discuss here is how good is Grazing Fire, for which builds it's useful, and should you pick it or not. One thing I don't like about how we as a community discuss about if a perk or build is good or not is that we are more or less those guys. We're more or less some Neanderthals sitting around a campfire and telling stories about what was good and what was not. Meaning extremely biased. Everyone has completely different experience. I mean, some people still say assault are good, like obviously are not. And to now discuss which first perk as a Center of Mass or Grazing Fire is better for Gunner, I make here a little bit of a function GeoGebra. So let's get over it. The first function, the green function, is basically the function of Center of Mass. The x-axis is aim, basically in percent, also basically from 0 to 1 is the percent of aim. On the y-axis we have the average done damage, and like I said, the green one is for Center of Mass. It's basically the aim times the variable r, which just indicates if we talk about normal shots with multiplier of 1 or reaction shots, times v times 1. The 1 indicates the higher damage from Center of Mass, and v is the average weapon damage a weapon does. This is indicated by, again, by the green line. The orange line, not orange line, blue line is this one. It has basically the beginning function like this, just without the +1 damage. And it has basically the grazing part. Basically, we have the inverse of our x. Means if this would be 100%, this would be 0%, and other way around. Then we have a weapon damage divided by 2. Because if we graze, we do only half the damage. And we have 1/2 because only 50% of the time we graze. And now you could say, okay, that's a full formula. Not quite. There's still a 0.91 multiplier in here, and that's because of down rounding numbers. If we would graze a 3, then it would the game would try to determine what it's doing, what it has to do with 1.5, and it would just round it down. Right? So if you graze with a 3, there's a good chance that you just do 1 damage, which is not what you want to see. You want to see ideally 1.5 or 2 damage. Of course, 1.5 doesn't exist, so best case would be 2, but it isn't. Right? So it's rounded down, and this rounded down loses us round about 9% of the damage of the grazing shot. I already did the stream and I make the mistake that I basically multiplied also the normal shot with 0.91, which is obviously false, because this part of downgrading doesn't affect our normal shot. Right? Obviously not more than this, because both has the same basic grace, whatever. Doesn't affect this part, so it has to be multiplied out. So it's not as heavy as a factor as it did in the stream, but I hope no one saw the stream anyway. So let's get started. The first thing what we want to decide is Grazing Fire good for a normal shoot build? Right now we can see here that we have those two graphs, but we have also these lines. These lines basically indicates the aim we would have at each level. Means that would be becoming gunner, then we level up, and here we are Master Sergeant. The one line is just as an indicator, mostly for me. Right, so we see that over all levels, the green line is above the blue line, so it does more damage. Means Center of Mass is basically right from the get-go. If you're just shooting, and we just assume that we have our basic starting aim, it would be better. Obviously, we with a gunner, we would be much worse off if we shoot for cover, but we don't. We mostly fight against mechs, sector boards, gatekeepers, chosens. basically targets that we can easily flank or just shoot at. Meaning we don't really care right now as a shoot about cover. We mostly would try to flank it. Then let's see which factor work for Grazing Fire, which factor work against it. Obviously, if we increase the aim, then we cannot miss, means Grazing Fire doesn't activate. Means it's with aim a negative scaling perk, which is kind of bad. Weapon damage helps Grazing Fire. If we, for example, put this down to 13, we will see that the turning point moved into the levels, because center of mass becomes less and less a damage-wise factor in the weapon damage, because it's a much smaller part the higher the weapon damage goes. Means that the weapon damage helps Grazing Fire being effective. So, to determine which is best, we can look at machine in different points in game. For example, we can take this point in game in the beginning. We can also get laser weapon, means we increase our aim by 5, and we add a little bit of damage. And we are still above. Let's see if this changed in the end game. We get 13 here. And let's say we get like 10 from weapon stuff and maybe 10 from other sources, I don't know. Let's go to 85. It's a base aim. And we see still above. It's still above. It's still the best option. It's always the best option if you're gonna shoot. Means if you're gonna shoot at an enemy and you don't really care about suppression or Overwatch as a gunner, then Grazing Fire is not an option for you. It will just always do less damage. Therefore, center of mass is better. Now we would say like, oh yeah, I kind of thought about that, but the thing is, it's a little bit different for Overwatch shots, because in Overwatch shots, with a multiplier, it takes aim away, and this helps Grazing Fire. So here the math is different. Let's go to the beginning again and now switch to Overwatch shots. We go down and down and down, and the first thing you will see is that Grazing Fire already is on the top. Meaning without doing anything, taking Grazing Fire from the beginning is already better, and we can already see that's already better by 0.4 points. Means basically you will per shot do 0.4 points more damage per shot. Means after 2 shots you already kind of have more around 1 more point of damage. Of course around here a little bit, but so you get a feeling. Means this is already kind of good. So let's increase this. We would get 5 aim from the laser weapon, and we would again, not again, but this time we get 20 aim from lockdown. So let's say we go up to 90. And let's go here to 6.5. And we see we're still above, which is nice. Let's say we also have cool under pressure here. And even with cool under pressure, we are still, even if we would be at that high level as with our laser weapons, we're still over all levels higher with Grazing Fire. Okay, let's increase it further, but you already can imagine that increasing weapon damage doesn't really change that much. But let's also increase damage rate and get like an add-on for weapon, like 10 reaction damage on reaction shot, 10 aim on reaction shot. So we go to 8.5, right? And let's say we get this add-on, so we go to 7.1. Even we kind of lost the aim from the lasers. Doesn't really matter. We're still above. And we can, of course, go full out and let's say like completely 13 and go so really high in aim. And we are still at all levels above with Grazing Fire. So surprisingly, if we make a build which utilizes suppression or Overwatch, Grazing Fire actually becomes the better perk. It's all about if you shoot a lot normally or if you suppress Overwatch a lot. If you do that, then actually Grazing Fire becomes mathematically better. It will deal more damage, it will hit a lot of enemies also, meaning stuff like Shred will apply more often. And also we can combine this early on in a campaign with poison rounds, meaning if there are a lot of enemy and a lot of enemy moving, we have a lot of chances to poison enemies, making them much less effective and really controlling the situation. Of course, poison rounds are not like the insane thing because of snakes and mechs and everything, but it helps, right? It's an addition. So we can see here that even with really high base aim, right, and max weapon and everything, and downgrading accounted for, yeah, it's still better. By the way, how you can find the number for the downgrading, you just basically count every point of damage that could be possible in a weapon together, and then you compare it to how the points of damage should be if you just divide each point by 2, right? So basically on one group you downgrade, on the other one you don't, and then you compare the numbers. Then you get a 91%. So if you see these numbers, I would say here it is actually better if you go for suppression build, which I would also recommend, especially in the beginning of the campaign, that you actually take Grazing Shot instead of Scent of Mass. But I also have to say that yeah, it is technically good damage. Like, for example, this is also kind of insane. The damage that we assume here has reduced a little bit. Right? Let me think of a realistic number we can get early on in the campaign. 6.5, 9.5, 1.5, also 1.5 rumble. I think that's a realistic number early on. Right? And let's say plasma would make half this. We can already see how the difference in damage. This is basically like half a cent of mass more on average damage, which is a lot. It is for sure helping and yeah, making the campaign smoother. So what can we say here? It is playable on suppression builds, but I still think that maybe there needs maybe a little bit of love to make it a little bit better. So that it could be also playable on shot builds, because we have saw the math, it's really bad for shots. There's some exceptions you could think of. For example, if you have one, let's say you have a lot of weapon damage, and let's say you have, of course, we need to remove a little bit of aim here. 75 aim or something like this. Maybe more. Let's say if I have or something like this. If you now shoot with your triple shot ability, for example, against a gatekeeper, you need to remove like 30 aim from that. So it becomes like 5.5. And then you see how this becomes still a better situation for you. So taking abilities that basically lose a lot of aim, shooting then against enemies that have a lot of defense, like mechs and gatekeepers, still could be, even if you just normal shoot, be advantageous situation for Grazing Fire. But it is less so the case. For example, if you add a little bit of aim back. So we go back to 17. We can already see here that Scent of Mass would perform better. It would also perform better by also a good margin. So yeah, I think maybe a change in how the numbers are down or upgraded would be nice, because I think the perk is relatively good and balanced, but it needs like a little bit of a nice, I think, edge to also be playable for shot builds. One idea would be to make the perk not only be able to negatively skill with aim, but also be positively skill with crit. Because normally, if you are a gunner, you would pick a gunner with high aim, you would push all the aim you can into this gunner so the gunner actually connects, right? But what if you could go a different path? For example, what if grazing shots give you more grace chance, also higher than 50, per crit that your shot would deal? Meaning, if you shoot at target's flank, you get maybe like 10 grace more, 10% grace more, and that could already be the difference between being worse perk in center of mass than being good perk in center of mass if you flank a lot, which is what you want to do kind of with the gun anyway, right? And it would also then maybe incentivize a little bit more the ability maybe from Reapers to stack like 100 crit on like sectoids, and then you have much more grace chance, maybe 75 or something, then truly hit almost everything to really ensure the armor's gone. I don't know. That's a question for our Black Cat. But yeah, this is what I want to talk about. Is I want to present. We learned from this normal shot builds do not take grazing shot, and suppression builds do. Yeah, I hope everyone has a nice night.